Hi everyone, happy Friday. Oh, sometimes it does this where it zooms really close in on my face. I don't know why it does this, but whatever. You get to be up close and personal with me today. Hi everyone, I'm excited for today's event. We take a look at everything going okay. Hopefully coming through all right. If you can see me or hear me, will you give this video a like to let me know? uh, Checking to make sure I'm coming through okay before we. Can you guys see and hear me okay? Will you like this video if you can see and hear me? Awesome, thank you. Getting those likes. Okay, wonderful. I'm excited. Today's a little bit of a different marketing training because I'm doing a behind the scenes, something I've never actually done before. I have worked with over 100 different therapists on their websites, and yet I've never shared kind of a deeper look at that process. So this is an opportunity for me to chat through that a little bit. I welcome your questions as I'm going through this. The benefit certainly of joining live is that I can answer those questions for you in real time. So if as I'm going through something you have questions, I'd be happy to address them. I have kind of 3 phases I'm going to walk through. So the planning phase, the writing phase, the building phase. And I'll stop after each one of those and address any questions you might have. So please don't hesitate to drop those into the comments. If you are catching the replay, which is perfectly fine, please drop a hashtag replay into the comments to make sure I see any questions you may have. I'm always happy to come back and answer those. So, hi Joanne, thanks for being here. Hi everyone. Hi Brenda. Hi Nicole. Wonderful. If this is your first time joining us, hi, I'm Anna. I'm really happy you're here. Obviously, as a result of the title of this, one thing I do is help therapists with their websites, but more than anything, I'm here to help empower you in your marketing and to equip you with strategies that actually translate into results in your practice. And maybe that is working one-on-one with me on your website, but more often than not, it's using something you learn from one of these trainings or joining one of my programs and really putting you in the driver's seat of your marketing. That's at the heart of everything that I do. And that is certainly part of what I'm going to be sharing today. So while, that's a caveat here, while I am sharing the process I go through with my clients, I want you to know that you can do this too. That this is not exclusive to me. I'm not going to be showing you anything that isn't possible to accomplish on your own. If it's something that you need help with, my marketing mentorship, Confident Copy, is me helping you through all of the planning and the writing portions of this process, and then equipping you to go ahead and build and launch your website. So help is available, certainly, but I don't want you to watch this and feel like, man, there's like, I don't even know where to start, because you can do this. And I've seen clients do it, and I've seen them get results from it. So please don't feel like this is distant from you. This is something that you too can do yourself. So wonderful. Well, let's go ahead and dive in. Like I mentioned, there are 3 main phases to the projects that I do with a website client, and I'm going to hopefully, if the video will let me, share my screen a couple of times. Let's see, where is that? They've moved that option. Hopefully, I'll be sharing my screen. If not, I'll just be talking you through what I do there. But the 3 phases, man, where'd it go? I apologize. I had it all set up and now it's gone. Anyway, if anyone's shared a screen on your Facebook Live before, let me know, because I would love to be able to do that. But either way, we're going to go through this. So, like I mentioned, 3 phases that I go through. So first is planning, next is writing, and the final one is build. So where we build and design and launch the site. So what is so important, and what I see so many clinicians neglect when they go to launch a website, maybe you have a website right now, but it's not doing what you want it to, or maybe you just went ahead and just like threw something up there. That's because you kind of neglected that really important first step, which is that planning step. When I see clinicians see really great success from their website, it's because their website is actually an extension of them. It's not just this thing that they slapped up there because they felt like they had to. Their website wasn't just a box to check, but their website was an extension of the work that they did. It was a real, like, true way to communicate who they are as a clinician, who they work best with, what it's like to work with them. And you can't communicate all of that if you haven't sort of fleshed that out first. And so that's where I start with every single one of my clients, every single one of my students inside of Confident Copy. If you're a Confident Copy student watching this, you know the pre-writing portion of the writing. We spend an entire week just on that before we get into anything else because it's so critical. And so as you prepare to write your website, and what I have my students and clients go through is really just a big brain dump. It's a brain dump of who do I love to work with? Who do I do my best work with? Demographically, who are they on paper? Are they married? Are they in a relationship? How old are they? Is any of that relevant? What are they struggling with? What are they coming into therapy thinking that they want help with? Now, I say thinking that they want help with because maybe you're a trauma therapist, but most of your clients don't realize they have trauma. So marketing ourselves and putting out on your website that you're a trauma therapist, we're going to miss them. So we really focus on what are they thinking they want help with? What's led them into therapy right now? What are they hoping to accomplish in therapy? What do they want to get out of this? That's a really important thing because we don't want your website to be all doom and gloom. And certainly the copy that I write for clients, I don't want to feel sad. I want to be able to speak to what this person is ultimately hoping to get out of therapy. And so I encourage my clients through a couple of prompts. I provide them a workbook that unfortunately I can't show you because I can't screen share for some reason. But I have them really brain dump on what does your client say they want to get out of therapy. Like when you sit down in a consultation or in an intake and ask them what their goals are or why they've come to therapy, what do you hear from them? And then finally, what are they looking for in a therapist? Your website is certainly going to be about your client. And you'll see any website that I've written, any website that my students produce is certainly client-centric, but it still needs to talk about you, right? And so how do we align the work that you do and who you are as a clinician with what these people are ultimately looking for in a therapist? So what are they looking for? Maybe they're looking for someone who's really culturally responsive and socially aware, maybe social justice informed. That's something that's really important to them, and I've certainly seen clinicians thrive in that area. Maybe it's someone who isn't just going to sit there and talk to them. Maybe they've done traditional talk therapy and they're looking for something else. Maybe your client is someone who's looking for a therapist who isn't going to feel like really like removed and stoic. They're looking for someone that shows up in the room as a human, and that's something that you bring in. So we really flesh out what is it that they're looking for, and as we do that, we start to paint a little bit of a picture of, okay, what is your practice? Who is the client that I am, in this case, going to be writing for? And what do we need to know about them and what they're looking for? A couple of really other key things that I suggest you brain dump on as you prepare to write a website. What are some phrases that your clients often hear from you? I will have clients provide to me at least 10 to 15 quotes, statements, phrases, words that sound like them. And that is one of the best ways to inject you into your website. To have a website that feels and sounds like you, let's bring in some of the things that you say often. My therapist, for instance, she says, "I hear you." That is one of her validating statements, and she says it all the time. Well, if I was writing a website for my therapist, which I never will, but if I were going to, that's something that I'd probably incorporate. Maybe you're someone who talks a lot about the waves of change. I had a clinician who that was something that was really kind of something that came up a lot in the way that she talked to clients, and so we brought that in. But that is something I will always have right there with me in order to help copy sound like that client. If you have done some research on therapist websites before and you've seen, you feel like your eyes have gone, crossed because you've looked at so many different ones. Some probably sound more conversational and more approachable than others. And most likely one of those reasons is because that person has brought in them. And so that's a really, really great place to start. Take note in session of what you find yourself saying. that's a really, really great kind of activity to go through as you prepare to create the copy for your website, and something that I ask my clients to do. Because in this case, I am writing on behalf of a clinician. And so I have to sort of step into the shoes of that person and sound and write like them, so that their website feels like an extension of them. And so that's a really key piece. So that is some of the pre-work when it comes to the writing portion. And then if I'm working with this clinician also on building their website, I'm also going to have them pull together a Pinterest board. I love to start with Pinterest as a way to inspire the aesthetics of the website. If you haven't hopped on Pinterest before to get some inspiration around this, it is chock full of it. And so I have them pull together at least 5 to 10 images, websites, fonts, pictures, logos, whatever that feel inspiring to them when it comes to what they want their website to feel like. So often design is this thing that's like super subjective, and you know what you like when you see it, but it's hard to describe. Pinterest is a good way for me to help bridge that. So I just have my clients go ahead and create a board and share it with me. Maybe it's a random assortment of things, but I can then look at that with them in our kickoff call and start kind of like pulling out some of the themes that I'm seeing. Like, okay, it seems like you really like these types of fonts or this type of imagery, you're liking this color palette, so that we can really bring their vision to life. So that's the prep work required on the part of the client. Then we go ahead and we meet for a kickoff call. We review all of these things together, and we really flesh out everything that they provided to me in their pre-writing. So we get really clear on what are your different areas of specialty. What is your ideal client looking for and ultimately wanting out of therapy? So we really flesh that out together, with the goal that we leave that call with a really clear idea of all of the topics of the pages we're going to be writing. My kind of standard package that I do with clients includes a home page, an about page, and 3 specialty pages. That's usually the sweet spot that I see most solo practitioners benefit from. And so we determine what are the topics for those 3 specialty pages. Maybe it's medical conditions, chronic illness, and grief. Maybe it's relationship loss, anxiety, and substance or addiction recovery, which is a website that I just did this week. Kelsey, if you're watching, that sounds really familiar. But we determine what are the topics of those 3 specialty pages, so that we feel like we have captured all of the different areas of focus in this client's practice, so that when we put it out on a website, we know that their ideal client is going to land there and feel like there's a place for them, feel like there's a specialty for them, feels like there's words and phrases that are going to resonate with them. So that is kind of what we do together in the kickoff call. And then finally, I know that a lot of people asked about my SEO process. And I am happy to maybe do an additional training on this. If you would like some SEO support, I will drop into the comments of this training after I wrap up a link to another SEO training I've done about how I kind of a little bit more about my process. But to give you some context here as kind of the final step of my preparation phase, I take those topics that we've determined for the 3 specialties. I take what I know about their practice and the clients they serve, what I know about them, and I go and do SEO research. So the 2 tools that I use are ubersuggest.com, which is my suggestion for all of my Confident Copy students, and my suggestion for you. I also have an additional SEO tool that I pay for, just as another way to sort of bump up research against one another and cross all of my T's and dot my I's. It's called KW Finder, Keyword Finder. But essentially what I do is I head into those tools and I say, okay, so our specialty page is going to be on addiction recovery. What are people searching for on Google related to addiction recovery? Because we can guess all day long, but the cool thing is there's data out there that actually shows us. And so I go figure out, using those tools, what is the best keyword I could be targeting that I know people are looking for and that we have a good potential to rank for. If you want to rank for therapy Los Angeles, you're probably going to have a hard time because there are so many therapists in Los Angeles. Now, if you want to rank for EMDR therapy in Los Angeles, then we might be onto something. And so I use some different ways to determine, and some different kind of tactics there, to determine what keyword do we actually have good potential to show up on Google for, and what describes the work that we do. And so that's what I kind of bring together. And then I leave my planning phase and I head into the writing phase with a target keyword, one unique keyword for each page that I'm writing. I have those pre-writing exercises pulled up next to my blank Google Docs, and then I get to writing. So that is the planning phase of my projects. Now let me pause here. Like I said, I'll pause after each one and ask if anyone has any questions about that preparation phase. Joanne said yes, she's in Confident Copy right now, so she knows. Brenda as well just graduated and is Brenda already seeing results, which is amazing. I'm not seeing any comments, but let me double check because Facebook does sometimes lag on this. I just don't want to neglect anyone that might be wondering about this planning phase. And like I said, I will link that SEO training in the comments once we wrap up so that you can check out another one. Okay, not seeing any. Great. So hopefully that means this is making a lot of sense. Oh, thank you, Brenda. She said it's an amazing course. So that is the planning phase. And like I said, that is the process I go through with my clients. It's also something you can do. Whether you do it inside of Confident Copy with us or you just do it yourself, take note of what you're saying to your clients. Do a little bit of learning to figure out this whole SEO thing so that maybe you can jump in there and start structuring and planning your website in a way that's actually going to be Google friendly, and then you'll head into the writing section of the process. Now, sometimes clinicians will be so concerned with getting a website up that they neglect to actually write things into a document. They'll just write straight into their website. I highly suggest not doing that for multiple reasons. One, if something were to ever happen to your website, you lose your copy. And two, it's a little bit easier for you to determine like how many words you have on the page and play around with words and things like that without having to worry about the design portion. So if you're been around here for a while, you know I love Squarespace and that's where I do all my designing, but I would prefer to not worry about Squarespace until the copy is finalized. So all of my writing I do in a Google Doc because that's really easy to share with my clients. We can converse back and forth once we get to the review phase and things like that. So when I sit down to start writing, like I said, I have my SEO research and I have the pre-writing exercises. Literally they're side by side. I have a blank Google Doc and I have the SEO and the pre-writing right here. And I start writing. And now if you are wondering kind of the strategy I use for the writing, obviously some great trainings here in the group that you can go find. It's also exactly what I teach inside of Confident Copy, but the goal is that for each page, and each page that I write has a unique strategy and a unique approach, but the goal is that every single page that I write is SEO friendly. So there are going to be at least 300, usually 500 plus words on each page to make sure that Google is going to see it. Is aligned to what I know that person is searching for. So that unique keyword that I chose for each word, I'm going to make sure I'm really focused on for that page. And then on each page, I'm going to focus on empathizing and connecting with the person that's landed there. So I'm going to revisit who is reading this, who is this ideal client, what are they struggling with? What are they wanting to get out of therapy? What is this clinician ultimately going to support them with in the therapy room in order to get there? And I start putting that into words. And like I said, at least 300 words, usually 500 plus, and I break them out into really strategic sections. So the homepage, for instance, I'm going to immediately let someone know that they're in the right place with a clear description of what that client does. So the example I was going to show you that unfortunately I can't right now. We pull up her website, Online Therapy in New Jersey, therapy designed to help you thrive. Showing up as your true self takes courage. I'm here to help you discover that courage and experience change in your life. That is what shows the minute you load up the website. And so immediately, if that person is certainly looking for online therapy in New Jersey, but is really looking for stepping into their authentic self, thriving in their life, maybe things are going okay, but they want them to go better, that's who we're talking to there. And so that was really, really intentional. So that's what we do. And then we start connecting with the challenges that that person is experiencing as they're looking for therapy. And then we go ahead and introduce the clinician. Always have a headshot on your homepage. Always spend a little bit of time talking about yourself. Now, this is not a page that is dedicated to you, and it should be focused on your client, but they're looking to learn about you. And so include a great headshot, a short kind of description of your philosophy of what you believe about therapy. This clinician, for instance, I believe that therapy is a form of self-care that everyone deserves. If you've worked hard to build a successful life, trying to be the good child, employee, friend, partner, parent, it can be overwhelming to look around and realize you're not as fulfilled and confident as you'd expect it to be. Life is stressful, relationships are tough, and the daily grind can leave even the best of us feeling overwhelmed and anxious. My approach to therapy rejects the old school idea that therapy is only for those with serious mental illness. I believe it's a self-care investment for anyone and everyone, even those who haven't thought they needed therapy before. This is a place dedicated to you where you can explore yourself, overcome roadblocks, and create opportunities to live your best life. So that was our little opportunity to introduce this clinician and to speak to the person that she wanted to bring in, someone who has sort of the successful life from the outside, maybe hasn't thought they needed therapy before, but wants to make this investment in themselves. And so we still talked about the client even when we introduced her. And then we talk about the process. We let them know what to expect, reach out for a consultation, schedule a first appointment. What does that look like? And we sort of close the deal by using what I call a transformation statement, something that really sums up the awesome work that this person does. Again, in this example, what could a life of more purpose, joy, and fulfillment mean for you? Just kind of a probing question, inviting them into the next step, and then the call to action right there was book first appointment. So that journey down the page, we've connected with the client, we've introduced the clinician, we've let them know what to expect, and then we've invited them to take the next step. That is the general framework I use for each page that I write. So as I do that, I end up having 5 different Google Docs. I have a home page, an about page, and then those 3 specialty pages. Again, all informed by the SEO research and by the pre-writing that I've done. And then I go ahead and share that with the client, which is always really exciting. We hop on a call, I read it out loud to them, just like I did to you right here. We talk about anything that stands out to them that maybe they'd like to change, because I never expect that the copy is perfect to begin with, and your copy will never be perfect the first time you write it either. It's okay if it evolves, but we spend some time massaging, revising, do whatever we need to do until they feel really good about their copy, and then we head into the build phase. Now, I know that I just spit off some copy and made this process seem really, really simple. Getting words on paper is freaking hard sometimes, especially when you're writing about yourself. And so if this comes a little bit harder to you, that's okay. Like I said, it's okay if it's not perfect to begin with, but what it should be doing is connecting to that client you want to be attracting, talking about the work that you do in a way that's compelling and that's aligned to what they're looking for, and that invites them to take the next step. That's the foundation of a website that's actually going to drive action and convert clients, potential clients into paying ones. Of course, like I mentioned at the beginning, if this is something you need help with, this is where we spend the bulk of our time in Confident Copy. If you sit there and watch a blinking cursor and just feel frustrated, like Confident Copy is meant to help you get through that. So resources are available, definitely, but know that this is possible and that it's okay if it's a process. So that is the writing phase. Like I said, I know that I just oversimplified that, or maybe talked through that a little bit faster than it actually happens for some of us, but that is the writing phase. Let me stop here and see if there are any questions. Nicole said the video just ended. Brenda, thank you for answering. Yes, ubersuggest.com and KW Finder. Those are the SEO ones. Brenda, KW Finder allows you to search by city and state. Yes, that is another reason I like KW Finder. Ubersuggest only allows you to search nationally or by city, which is really frustrating because if you serve an entire state like California, you're not able to do that research. And so that actually, a good point, Brenda, is one reason I like to use KW Finder as well. Any other questions for me on the writing phase? There. Michelle, you mentioned helping a client with a website that has a specialty in addiction recovery. That's one of my specialties too. I've seen people saying that those terms on a website prevents you from having a Google My Business listing without some special process to qualify as a treatment center. Is that the case? How does a solo practice handle this? Oh, good, Nicole. I'm glad it's working. Michelle, good question. If you talk about addiction and substance use on your website, you generally run into issues running Google ads specifically, so running paid traffic to your website. I do not know and have not heard of there being issues with a Google My Business listing. I'm not saying that's not possible. But as I've understood it, that has been a particular issue in relation to Google Ads, which is sort of a separate strategy. However, if that's something you've run into with Google My Business, a good thing to be aware of, certainly. I would be happy to kind of noodle on that a little bit more with you, since that's something that's good to be aware of. I actually talk about in the end of Confident Copy and in my post launch with my one-on-one clients, going ahead and getting that Google My Business listing up and going. So thanks for calling that out. I'm happy to look into that a little bit more with you. All right, so that is the writing phase. And any good website designer, and this is, yeah, I'm going to stand by this statement. Any good website designer realizes that copy should dictate design. You can have an absolutely beautiful website template. You can have an absolutely beautiful website design, but if the words there aren't focused on conversion, aren't Google friendly, your website can't do what it's supposed to. And so that's why we invest so much time and energy, we being me or the students that go into Confident Copy, into the words. Because the design is awesome, and I want you to have a beautiful, professional website. It's why I have my Squarespace website templates. It's why I do this work. That's a huge, huge piece, but it's not the biggest piece. The biggest piece is your words. And if those words can be compelling, if those words can be client friendly, if those words can be Google friendly, we will see results from them. A beautiful, professional design is like the cherry on top. And so the next and final phase of these projects is that build phase. And so that's where I revisit the Pinterest board and the conversations that I had with my client around what they're wanting to their website to look and feel like. Again, website design and design in general is very subjective, and it can be very difficult to describe, especially if you've never had to do it before, what it is that you like and what it is that you're looking for. And so that's why we use that Pinterest board as a way to sort of guide our inspiration. And the very first thing that I do is I define a set of colors, using what I learned from the client, using what I learned from their Pinterest board to define a set of 5 colors. In Squarespace, well, I should mention, all of my website design projects, not all of them, most of them, are based on one of my Squarespace templates. And so at the onset of our project, the client will select the website template that they like the look and feel of the most, but they want to make some changes, and that's where we get to do all the fun stuff. So most of my projects these days are grounded in one of my templates. I do also offer custom design. That's a bit of a different process. So what I'm going to be talking about here is what most clients choose to do. So anyway, we take our the template that we've chosen, and I go ahead and set up the colors, because colors are just so important when it comes to the look and feel of what we're looking for. So inside of Squarespace, you can select a palette of 5 different colors. So I land on that, and I get really good, I get really clear on that before moving forward with anything else. So that will, once I make those changes to the Squarespace website, that'll flow through into the entire website. And so it already will start to take on a different feel. Again, the website that I was going to show you, had I been able to screen share, she wanted something like bright and fun and saturated. And so the colors on her website are like kind of a fuchsia and a yellow and a turquoise, which is a very, kind of interesting pairing, but that was what really aligned to the feel that she was wanting. And so it's a completely different feel than the soothing, airy, natural boho design that I did the next week for another client. So we use those colors first, and that really starts to bring the site to life. After that, I go ahead and I put all of the copy into the website. So I don't worry about layout. I just copy and paste from my Google Doc. Again, a really nice reason to have Google Doc there. And I pull everything in so that I've got the copy there. I don't worry about the layout. I just get the copy in there. I make any other tweaks that I might need to make, like maybe we're going to update the fonts in the website, any other kind of stylistic changes. And then I start section by section kind of orienting things. Maybe I change the layout, or I move things around, or I bold a section, or I pull a section out as a headline, I add a button. That's where we really start to make all of those cool design decisions. That's where you can you can spend hours, weeks, months if you let yourself. And then I go through the page section by section, and once the home page is ready to go, I fire that off to the client. I say, hey, here's your living, breathing homepage. They get a password to their website. How's it feel? It's okay if it's not 100% right yet, just like I don't expect the website copy to be 100% right as we get going. But here's your first glance. How does this feel? And we have an opportunity to talk through any feedback, incorporate that. And then once we feel good about that, I go ahead and implement all of those changes into the rest of their website. And within just a few days, they have a home page, an about page, specialty pages, an FAQ page, a contact page that are all functional, that are all based in that look and feel and vibe they were inspired by their Pinterest board. And we go ahead and get that site live. Launching a website in Squarespace is not as big of an ordeal as it sounds like. We get their domain switched over if they have an existing website, or bought and purchased and connected if it's a brand new website. We go ahead and make that website public, and then it's available for sharing. And I go ahead and encourage them to get the word out through things like Google My Business, through their social channels, anywhere that they can share about their website. I encourage them to do that. And the final piece there is going ahead and making sure that the website is indexed. If your website, if the Google bots that crawl around the internet haven't seen your website, you can't rank on Google. And generally, at some point, the bots will make their way to you. They'll make their way to any new page on the internet. But it can take upwards of multiple weeks sometimes, and we want to get that going as much as possible. So we go ahead and connect the website to Google Search Console, and we basically raise our hand and say, new website, come see us, come read us. And the bots make their way over to us, read the website, and then our SEO can start strengthening over time. So that's kind of the process we go through there in the build. I will stop there. Any questions about the build section? Michelle said, thanks for addressing my question. I haven't run into it yet myself because you're not up yet, but I've seen a couple people post about it in groups. Yeah, I'm going to go look into that specific to Google My Business. I've seen it many times in relation to Google Ads. Google Ads is a wonderful strategy. It's usually not a strategy that my clients need, using sort of the strategies that we talk about, but in the event that they do, if you do have something related to addiction or substance use, chances are you will run into one of those challenges, and that's Google protecting protecting itself and ultimately protecting users. It's frustrating that sometimes it's at the expense of clinicians that do wonderful work, but obviously those boundaries are there for a reason. So wonderful. I didn't see any questions on the build or design. I'm sorry I wasn't able to share my screen for this. I had all these windows pulled up to share with you. So that's kind of a bummer, but I hope I've been able to offer some tips and some help here. Brenda, how often is it recommended to update Google My Business with post pictures, etc., in order to help with SEO? Good question, Brenda. I recommend jumping in there and basically anytime you put something else out there in your marketing, maybe you're on Facebook, maybe you write a blog, making sure that those updates are brought into Google My Business is a really good practice. So updating it probably at least once a month, but I know people that if they post on Facebook, they'll also add it as a post to Google My Business. Google My Business is also now called Google Business Profile, by the way, but Google My Business is just easier to say. Obviously a lot of the standard things about your practice aren't going to change. The parts of your listing that are your hours and your website and things like that, but you can keep your listing fresh by adding things like photos, certainly if there's an update to your space, and then posts in the form of, leading to your blog, leading to Facebook, anything like that. So that's a good practice to be in to keep that fresh. So I hope that helps. You're welcome. Absolutely. Any other questions I can answer? Do I offer copy and build together as a package? Janelle, I think your name is Janelle. Thank you for asking. I do. This is a service that I offer. I do want to share I'm currently booked into 2023 for these services. So a ways out at this time. Like I mentioned, other folks also get access to this process inside of Confident Copy. If you are interested in learning this yourself with some help, Confident Copy is a great way. I call it a Done With You program, where I will teach you this process. And when I say this process, like my one-on-one clients fill out the same pre-writing exercises essentially that Confident Copy students fill out. Like I take you step by step through exactly what I myself do for clinicians, but you get to learn how to do it. So that's kind of the benefit there of Confident Copy. Good question. Any other questions I can help answer? I'm so glad you guys were here. I hope this was helpful. And like I said, please know that you can do this. There are beautiful, effective, Google-friendly, client-converting websites out there that clinicians created on their own. You do not need a professional. You do not need a professional. You can do this. Now, if you need help, that's available. Like I said, Confident Copy, it is something that I offer to a handful of clients per year in a one-on-one setting. But I want you to know, like, use what I've talked through here to create your own process, to work through or improve your own website, because it's possible. And that is the ultimate thing I want you to be walking away with right now. Yeah. Nicole, do I review and modify existing websites for clinicians? You did it yourself, considering getting expert input. Nicole, I don't currently work on existing websites. Students who have completed one of my programs, either the Fill Your Practice Formula, which is my DIY course, or Confident Copy, are eligible for practice power hours. So those are opportunities for us to sit down and review things together. I don't offer those publicly simply due to bandwidth. I don't have, unfortunately, enough hours in the day to support that. But if you've been through one of my programs, you are eligible for practice power hours, which is a good way for us to sit down and look at your current website or something that you've completed and you'd like some input on. But I don't personally, like, design-wise, work inside of existing sites. If we work together, we go ahead and build something new. Good question. My practice has also grown into a multi-clinician practice, which feels like a whole new ball game for me to manage. Brenda, who is maybe still watching, can probably sympathize or empathize with you on that. I know growing into a group practice is, certainly an adjustment, and there's some really big things to consider when it comes to your website, not just in how it functions, but also how you're talking about your services. That is something we talk about there inside of Confident Copy, and how to make sure that your group practice website is aligned to how your team is now serving your clients as opposed to you as an individual. Perfect. Yes. If you use the Fill Your Practice Formula, you are welcome to send me an email. Like I said, those are for students of my program. So good question. Wonderful. Well, this has been really good. I hope that you're walking away feeling inspired and maybe excited about improving or launching your website in a way you haven't been before. I am here to support you, and I want to see you be successful. While I love getting to do this one-on-one with clients, I also love getting to see clients do it themselves, whether that's just using what they learn in videos like these or one of my programs. But if nothing else, I want you to know that you are capable of this, that you can get full fee, private pay, ideal fit clients through your website, and you can do it on your own. And I want to cheer you on in that. So thanks again for being here. This was really fun. If there is anything else that you would love to know some behind the scenes on, please do not hesitate to let me know, because I love getting to share a little bit more about this. And if there's something I can share that would be useful for you, then man, let's do it. So thanks for being here. Have a great weekend. I will see you guys next time.